Yesterday, the federal judge, overturned some suits that were filed really against the FBI and the federal government, which if he didn't throw them out, you and me would be paying a lot of money in damages. The case started in 2015 in Charleston, a black church in Charleston, and a boy went in there. His name is Dylan Roof. He walked in, sat down. The church was going. He had a gun, and in his pocket, I don't know wherever he had it. And then all of a sudden, he jumped up and started shooting everybody in sight. And he shot and killed 9 people inside the church. And I don't know how many other ones were wounded, but that was in about 2015, so it was going on 3 years ago, and it was really a bad situation. And the people that he killed, a lot of them were pillars in the community in Charleston, South Carolina. And 15 lawsuits were filed. 4 of these people against, I don't know who all they were suing. I didn't see the head of the lawsuit. But the main ones, they were suing the federal government, FBI, and people that control the government, and for money, I guess for a lot of money, in the 15 lawsuits. But the judge yesterday threw out all 15 lawsuits. And one of the things involved was when this kid bought the gun in 2015, he went to a gun store. I don't know, it was in somewhere around Charleston, South Carolina, showed him all his information, and the man looked at it, checked him out. I think he had a marijuana charge on him, but somehow that didn't show up. And he sent it in to the FBI agencies that check all these people out before the man at the store is allowed to give him a gun. And he sent in a name, and he's supposed to wait 3 days. He waited 3 days, nothing happened, so he gave this boy the gun. And then I think 2 days later, after he got the gun, he went to the church and killed all these people. Now, the FBI, the way they do this, they get this information in, and I don't know, there was some things that happened the way they got it in, that somehow they didn't really check him, or he didn't come through this one machine. They didn't even check him on this big machine. It's called, somehow that was left off, and never did check him, and that would have been but the FBI guy that got the name in, he did everything he was supposed to do, supposedly, but there's one machine here. It's called the NDEX, and he was supposed to be put through that NDEX machine, which for some reason he wasn't put through. And the FBI people working said that the information they had, that wasn't supposed to be part of his background check. And that's what they're doing, these background checks, and they have other checks on him too during his 3 days. And if nothing shows up, they call the gun store and say, go ahead, sell him the gun. Because for what we have, the man, everything checks out. He's all right with our FBI background check system. Now, it turns out they never give him this NDEX test, and that would have showed everything. But the FBI people working, They said they didn't think they were supposed to give it to him. But anyway, that's what this case came down to. Did they give him all the tests they were supposed to? Did they miss some tests? And these 9 people died, went ahead and filed 15 lawsuits against the government. But basically, that's what it's about. It's not so much this guy that did the shooting, this young kid, because I don't think he has any money, and they want money, so they're trying to get it by suing the U.S. government, FBI, and then you and me would have to pay off any judgments. Because these were older people, they were established people, and they were pillars in the community. And this boy, I assume, probably had nothing like any other boy, 15 or 16. He had money for the gun, and that was it. And the judge wrote an order, 22-page order, and he talked about some different things in his order, which I don't know. He ruled that the FBI had immunity from being sued because its employees were following an established policy, even if it was flawed. So he had immunity. That's U.S. government. You just can't walk in and sue the government over anything. So he's saying they had immunity on that basis, and it didn't matter if these FBI agents did exactly what they were supposed to, checking this guy out, running the tests, because they were tired and they worked hard, and they were doing everything they were supposed to do. And so that's basically the way it came out, and the judge overturned the case and threw it out. But the first thing he said was that the FBI had immunity. That means immunity. The police and all that, they have a job to do, and they do it. And you can't get a policeman, 2 people are robbing a bank, he shoots one of them, say, all right, I'm going to sue that policeman. That's part of his job. I mean, that's part of the job to protect us. And this federal judge, Gergel, saying that the FBI had immunity from being sued because its employees were following an established policy, even if it was flawed. So I don't know what will happen now. These murders were about 3 years ago, and naturally the lawyers talk about appealing and different things. But if that immunity holds up, that's going to be pretty hard to get around that one. And then the next question is, did the FBI do everything they were supposed to do when they took the test? They didn't use that big test, the NDX, the one I mentioned before, because they said they didn't have to give him that test. But that test, though, is a big one, and generally you're not going to go through that with things on your record. So where we are now, this case was thrown out. All 15 lawsuits were thrown out. Naturally, they can't appeal. One of the lawyers mentioned appealing. If they appeal, they have a right to do that. But naturally, the main one that they're suing is the FBI, the federal government of the United States. And that is you and me. If they did something wrong, then this boy's not going to have to pay it. We're going to have to pay it. Whatever it is. And it's going to be a lot of money for 15 lawsuits. And these were all older people, most of them. They were pillars in the community. They were sitting in the church. They were already started the church. He sat down in a seat, and they were talking, whatever they were talking about, and then all of a sudden he jumped up with this gun he bought, and he just started shooting everybody in sight. That's all we have today. Thank you.